This video is a little different from what I usually make. From those of you that have followed my channel for some time, you know that my number one SHTF fear is a pandemic. It's happened before, and I am sure it will happen again. So one of the things I do is kind of watch the health news closely. And I thought I'd just share with you some of the articles that I found of interest this last week. Drug-resistant superbug kills someone every 15 minutes. Now, I wanted to let you know that the links for all the articles I'm mentioning are below this video. Genetic research has shown that these bugs or germs have become very adept at outwitting antibiotics. They become resistant to antibiotics. And that is a real scare for our health because we depend on antibiotics to save our lives in many instances. So the CDC had 3 different germs listed on their list in 2013, and they've increased it now for 2 more on their list this year. And you know, most of us think, oh, well, these are things that you get if you're in a nursing home or, you know, in a hospital, your immune system is compromised. And that's very true. But please remember, anybody can get a superbug. It is not just for those that are in a nursing home or receiving hospital care. So it's a real health risk. Let me go through which ones are on their list. So the first one is C. diff, and I have a link here to a video that I made on C. diff because my brother died from it. It's the deadliest antibiotic resistant germ on the CDCs list. It caused 12,800 deaths a year. Then there's also what they call CRE, and I'm not going to pronounce the rest of it. It is also a bacteria, and it caused, in 2017, 1,100 deaths, but it hospitalized in 2017 over 13,000 people. And then there's a drug-resistant type of gonorrhea, and people with that, they figure about 550,000 infections a year. And the 2 that they added this list is what is called CRA, which is also a bacteria, and in 2017 it caused 8,500 hospitalizations and estimated about 700 deaths. The newest one, which I have another article on, is C. auris. It is not a bacteria. It is actually a fungus. And clinical cases in 2018 were 323. The good news is deaths from antibiotic resistant has went down 13%. And that is because the hospitals are really, and nursing homes, any place a person receives care, is really trying to set in place the protocols so these infections don't spread. However, it's increased from infections just got from the general community, not from a hospital facility. So it's a bit scary. You know, the bottom line here is do not go to the doctor when you have a cold and request an antibiotic. An antibiotic should only be used when absolutely necessary. It shouldn't be used for viral infections. So be careful, be prudent. Now, when I mentioned the community at large, I wanted to say something. There was an example given where a woman was having dental work and she was given an antibiotic. And she ended up getting the C. diff infection and ended up dying from it. And a lot of people need to have antibiotics before they have dental work. But who would think that you would die? You know, you catch the C. diff and die from that. She had otherwise no compromised immune system, nothing, completely healthy. So don't discount this as something that just happens to old people in nursing homes. It can happen to anybody. Second article, this drug-resistant fungus is spreading. Scientists warn of a new superbugs to come. So Candida auris is really an unusual fungus. It's a fungus that actually acts as a bacteria. And it's very, very hard to eradicate. It is now in 30 countries, including the United States. And what's even more strange about it, when you look into the genetics of it, it seems to have sprung up independently in different areas, not come from one area. So that's a little scary. Is something causing, be it climate change or something else, causing fungus to develop and act like a bacteria? That could be very, very dangerous for the future. This is really a superbug because it is resistant to all three classes of antifungals, so it is untreatable. So definitely something to watch for the future and to see if any other similar fungus pop up. Number 3, China reports 2 cases of the most dangerous type of plague. That's right, 2 people in China got the Black Death, the bubonic plague. And that occasionally happens across the world, especially in Madagascar, it seems like. But what's even more concerning is how China handled this. They never, you're required to report this to, I think it is WHO, anyway, an international agency, if you have any of these types of infections. They never reported it until it already got released to the media, and they had to report it. And this is a problem with China, in that if something develops there, think of SARS. Again, they ignored it, didn't tell the people, and look at how far that spread. If they do not inform the proper authorities and everyone takes actions, something like the bubonic plague could spread. Now, we're not that worried about the bubonic plague now as long as it is caught early, because as of right now, antibiotics do treat it. But this is just an example of China, again, worrying more about its self-image than the health of its people, which is pretty concerning for the rest of the world. Well, it's flu season, so the next article is flu is getting an early start in the U.S. this season. In the article, it points out that 30 states are seeing more activity for this time of the year than they have in the last decade. And here's a map, so you can see how it's affecting your state. Here in Michigan, not much of a problem yet. It's probably still to come. Also to note is when the flu season starts early, this has often meant that it's going to be a more severe flu season. And the type of flu we're seeing is the B strain, and unfortunately that often affects children. So be on the lookout for signs of flu. Next, some good news. World's first Ebola vaccine approved for global use after saving hundreds of thousands during outbreak. So this Ebola vaccine has been developed by Merck Company, and it has now been released for what they call compassionate release for people in the DRC, to children, caregivers, and people in the medical profession, because we really need to get a handle on squashing that Ebola in the DRC region. But wouldn't that be wonderful if we have a vaccine and in the future there is no worry about Ebola. Next one, Germany mandates measles vaccine. So parents in Germany must get their kids vaccinated against measles, or they could get a very, very high fine. I think it's like 2,500 euros if they don't do that. And this is because measles is really a problem outbreaking in Europe, and Germany wants to do something about it. Now, a lot of people out there are going to say, oh, that's against individual freedoms. But is it? Is it against my freedom as a pregnant mother with a child who, if I was exposed to measles, might be born deaf? And you say, what? Yeah, that happened to my girlfriend's mother. Her sister is deaf because of measles. So, whose individual freedom are we protecting? And that's the question here. And I am not an anti-vaxxer. I'm in the medical profession. I have traveled worldwide. I see the benefits of vaccinations. Most people here, they never grew up with those diseases. So it's easy to say, oh, there's something, little thing in this vaccine, I'm not going to have my child get it. But the honest truth is, have your child get one of these diseases, like polio. When I was young, they were just coming out with a polio vaccine that you take on a sugar cube. And my girlfriend, whatever, her dose wasn't quite right, and she did get polio, so a slight form because she did have the vaccine at least, but one leg was always much thinner than the other. But she was still lucky compared to what it used to be when polio was running rampant in the United States. Anyway, Germany is doing something about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if other European countries do the same. Dollar Tree gets FDA warning for potentially unsafe drugs. The FDA sent a warning letter to the Dollar Tree over certain over-the-counter drugs. The letter details the company's use of foreign manufacturers that had received warning letters, and the company says they're working with the FDA to get the issues resolved. This is so funny because I went on the counter and saw these empty boxes of, I think it's called Assure, different painkillers and stuff like that. And I go to my son, I go, did you go to the Dollar Tree? He goes, yeah, I bought some of this over-the-counter stuff. It's much cheaper there. I go, oh, well, did you hear about the new warning? So these drugs might be okay, but they could have filth in them, and there could be other problems in their manufacture. So Dollar Tree says they're going to do something about it, but until that time, you might not want to buy any of their over-the-counter drugs. Teen suicide rates spiked 56% in a decade. 56%, over half increase. Okay, what's going on? I mean, this is a serious problem. And obviously, all the bullying training and everything else has not helped this problem. And the truth is, we don't know why the spike occurred. You know, part of me wonders if it's bullying training is not the right way to go. Instead, concentrate on what I used to always call Teflon training. Making your kids' skin like Teflon so the insults and stuff just slide right off. But by so much parent involvement, we may have not hardened our kids to deal with pressures nowadays. I don't know what the answer is to this, but definitely a worry. I mean, to have your child commit suicide must be a terrible ache that never goes away. So this is a problem, and that we really should get to the root and find out why it's happening. So anyway, those were just my interest health stories that I read in the past week. I thought I'd share them with you. Let me know if you read any interesting health tidbits. And as always, please subscribe, share the knowledge, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.